Physical and biological differences in men and women, especially in marriage. That is going to be our topic for deliberation today. And these differences can influence how husband and wives experience energy, emotions, attractions, and then stress, sleep, and intimacy and sexual desires. Understanding these differences can reduce unnecessary conflict and then increase companionship and then increase compassion. And my name is Helen. So let me start like this today. Energy. Both men and women, we don't always have the same battery. Men sometimes we have greater physical strength and muscles. When it comes to work, like physical activities, stress, and sleep, it can significantly affect the energy of men. Men may still have an interest in physical affection or sex even after they are extremely tired. But let's look at my gender in the other way around. Women energy is affected, by menstrual cycles, pregnancy, breastfeeding, childcare, menopause, and the sleep disruption. A woman may be mentally and physically exhausted even when she doesn't look tired. Learn to ask what is straining your spouse right now. And once you are able to understand the underlying reasons, then solution is handy. The number 2, let's check out emotions. Both men and women, we may process feelings differently. For example, some men process emotions internally. They won't bring it out. They won't let you hear about it. They bottle it in. A husband may become quiet or withdraw, even overwhelmed. He may naturally move towards finding a solution rather than discussing the emotion extensively with you. So sometimes when your husband is just withdrawn like that, he could be burdened. So when you understand this, there would be solution nearby. And what about my gender? Some women may process emotions more verbally. They just wanted to hear it. They wanted to listen to them. Talking through an experience may help a wife understand and regulate what she is feeling inside. She may want empathy from you, or maybe before you advise, she just wanted you to put yourself in her shoes. So you understanding her would do a lot of good job. So these are two differences. So sometimes man might say, I don't feel like talking, but the wife really needed you to listen so badly. We should try as much as possible to understand that silence doesn't always mean he doesn't care, and talking doesn't always mean she wants to fight. So sometimes you simply process differently. The number 3 things I want us to consider today is about attraction. It can change through different seasons. Attraction isn't only about physical appearance. It can be influenced by the hormones, the stress, the emotional connection, health, familiarity, aging, relationship satisfaction. And then a husband may experience changes in attraction as he ages. The older he gets, his tastes could change, just as a wife may experience changes during pregnancy, after childbirth, premenopause or menopause stages. So many things will keep on changing biologically in the system. So attraction would no longer depend on the physical outlook. So many things will come up during seasons. Number 4 is about stress. It can steal intimacy. Stress affects the brain, the hormones, the sleep, mood, and sexual functions in both men and women. For a husband, stress may affect his libido, his erection. It could affect his mood, it could affect his concentration, and even his patience. And then for a wife, for my gender, stress may affect libido, mood, sleep, hormonal balance, emotional availability, and sexual comfort. The problem isn't you don't love me anymore. The problem is we are just overwhelmed. So before fighting about intimacy, sometimes you need to deal with the stress that is suffocating the intimacy in your home. Simple. Now, number 5, let's consider sleep. Don't start a marriage war with sleep-deprived spouse. Poor sleep can affect so many things. It could affect the mood, the patience, the energy, the concentration, emotional regulation, sexual desire. My gender may experience additional sleep disruption during pregnancy, breastfeeding, and maybe during childcare and menopause. Sometimes your spouse isn't angry with you, they are simply exhausted, they needed to sleep. And sometimes my gender will keep on complaining, oh, he sleeps a lot. Immediately after this, he just fall asleep deeply, he ignored me, he isn't talking. If that man next to you didn't sleep, there would be a bigger problem in the overall. So I think we should understand how common sleep can cause issues in our marriages. Understanding will save us from a lot of unwanted and unnecessary stress. Number 6 is about sexual desire. This very point, this very reason is where many couples misunderstand each other. Men, on the average, we experience more spontaneous sexual desires. But what about women? They are not like men. So more commonly, they experience responsive desire. So they respond to something. So where desire develops after affection, emotional connection, relaxation, and physical stimulation begins for women. But for men, they're responsive commonly to what they see. So you should try as much as possible to understand your spouse. Is she responsive to just the look, the appearance, or do you needed to get her connected emotionally before she finally yield onto you? These are the things you should know. Please learn that different sexual desire patterns do not automatically mean different levels of love. Don't conclude yet. So you don't want sex, therefore you don't love me. No, there are more to it. And don't tell your spouse you want sex often, so therefore that's all you care about. No, learn your spouse's sexual desires pattern. It will help you, please. Number 7 is about sexual arousal. The body doesn't always respond the same way. For men, an erection is a physical response involving the brain, the nerves, the hormones, the blood flow. Stress, anxiety, illness, medication, and relationship difficulties can affect all of this. But what about women? Arousal involves like blood flow, nerves, hormones, lubrication, and psychological factors. So physical arousal can also be affected by stress, hormones, medication, and so on and so forth. Childbirth and even menopause are other factors that can affect these in my gender. So but we will both need to understand, and we don't need to turn our spouse's physical responses into a test of their love. Our body can respond slowly, it is okay, or differently, it is okay, without the person being emotionally disconnected. We should try as much as possible to understand that fact. Number 8 is about pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum. Our body has been through a lot. Your wife. So pregnancy and childbirth can dramatically change a woman's body, her hormones, her energy, her sleep, her emotions, her sexual comfort, and her body image. So the husband may wonder, why is it that she's no longer interested in intimacy? And then the wife may wonder why her husband doesn't understand what her body is experiencing. So the two of you should try as much as possible to know that season, that very season requires teamwork, patience, and reassurance, and not by mounting pressure on your wife. Number 9 is about menopause and midlife. Maybe you are in your 50s or you are just in your late 40s. Your body now enters another season. Menopause can involve a lot of things such as hot flashes, lack of sleep, mood changes, even vaginal dryness, and the changes in sexual comfort, changes in libido. And men also may experience some biological changes with aging. Their sexual function can also change, can also fluctuate a little bit. So you don't expect your 50-year-old marriage or your 50-year-old woman to function exactly like your 25-year-old marriage. Things are changing. Please, your bodies have changed, and your marriage must learn how to change with them. So knowing how to change with the seasons will help you to navigate through it with a lot of comfort, without stress. Number 10 is the body image. Don't use your spouse's body as a weapon. Pregnancy, childbirth, aging, weight changes. Maybe she added a lot of flesh. It could be hair loss, and other physical changes can affect confidence in both men and women. And your spouse should feel safe and desired. In your presence, not constantly evaluated. You don't body shame her to say, oh, you look fat. No, that is too crude, and it could demoralize her or demoralize him. Or just look at your husband and say, what happened? Your belly is protruding. No, don't compare your husband or your wife with people on social media. Don't match them with anything. Encourage if there is need to lose weight. Encourage if there is need to do other things. Number 11 is about intimacy. Sex is not the only language of connection, for crying out loud. Instead of you to be asking who is right or who is not right, what does your spouse need in order to feel safe, in order to feel cherished, in order to feel valued? I think that is what the two of you should focus on. I'll be concluding this episode like this. So men and women are different, not defective, not because one is more superior or the other one is inferior. They are simply different, and the goal of a marriage is not to erase those differences, but to understand them and honor them and learn how to love each other wisely through every season. We don't marry someone because they are exactly like us. No, we marry someone different from us, and then we spend a lifetime learning how to love that difference. Thank you for listening to me today. Your home is blessed. Goodbye.